Hey everyone, we were playing some Modern this week, and got kind of a spicy one. So, got banned in Standard, we're going to try it in Modern. This is pretty close to the Four-Color Saheeli decks in Standard with some upgrades, and I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's kind of this mishmash of like various banned collected company decks and sort of like the Kiki Chord style decks, so it's kind of cool. I saw a couple lists that did pretty well on Magic Online. One of them went 5-0, one of them went 5-2 in a Modern Challenge, I think. So made some changes. Talked to Michael Majors. He always has some good ideas, and this is what I settled on. So 6 Mana Dorks, Birds and Noble Hierarchs. We have Wall of Omens to blink with our Felidar Guardians, which I think is pretty important. Voice of Resurgence, just to kind of like gum up the ground and be good against counter spells. Bullet Scavenging Ooze, some Reflector Mages. We never got to do this in Standard, and I'm very excited to pair this card with Felidar Guardian because they wouldn't let us. They never let us, and it's just a shame, you know? So we got the Felidar Guardians. One Restoration Angel doesn't actually work with Saheeli Rai, but it is just another value card that I think is pretty good. And it combos with Kiki-Jiki, and I think Kiki-Jiki is a pretty nice upgrade to this style of deck, especially when you're playing like Eldritch Evolution to find bullets and find Felidar Guardians and whatnot. Another cool thing you can do with Evolution is if you have a Felidar Guardian, you can Evo away the Guardian, get Sun Titan back Saheeli, and just kind of go nuts, which is pretty sweet. If you have 2 Saheelis, then you just go infinite with Sun Titan, which is pretty sweet. Otherwise, you just wreck them with value, which I think is also pretty good. Oath of Nissa to find the combo, just like in Standard. Pretty important that it searches for creatures, lands, and Saheeli Rai, and is blinkable with Felidar Guardian, so it's certainly pretty nice. It's certainly worth noting that Restoration Angel is only creature, so you can't do that, but oh well, oh well. And then some Path to Exiles to round out the list. Eternal Witness, too. I was actually kind of curious. I didn't know if like I haven't seen Sun Titan in any of the lists, and this was a Majors innovation. But the Witness is there presumably so you can like use Evo to get a Saheeli Rai that has previously died, and that's kind of cool. I don't know if this is actually worth it or not, and even if it is worth it, like you decide that you want a card that does that, it's possible that the Sun Titan actually takes that slot and does it a little bit better. Obviously, there's a little bit more utility where you can like witness back a Path to Exile or some of your sideboard cards and whatever, you know. But it is possible that you don't need Sun Titan and Eternal Witness, and it's possible that Sun Titan is much better. So who knows? Mana base is pretty straightforward: 22 land, 5 shock lands, 3 basics, 11 fetches, a Firelit Thicket, 2 Razor Verge Thickets. So looking at this, it's pretty easy to see that it's mostly a green-white deck. You have like a blue splash and a red splash. I would say that especially with the sideboard cards, this is more of a Bant deck splashing red, although I do think that just like green-white splashing 2 colors is pretty reasonable way to put it. So it's possible that like Razor Verge Thicket is not super important because green and white are your primary colors, so you're likely going to go after those most of the time with fetch lands, and it is notable that Razor Verge Thicket does not cast either half of Saheeli Rai, so if you have like 2 green-white dual lands in play, or Razor Verge Thicket in any basic, you cannot cast Saheeli. I hope that Oath of Nissa helps a little bit with that, but we'll see, I suppose. It's also possible that like maybe I want Steam Vents to go with my Razor Verge Thicket, so then if I have a Thicket and a fetch land, then I have all the colors, but like Heath is the best fetch, and it doesn't get Steam Vents, so I don't know. It's possible the mana base is way off. I took, like, I don't know. I think I'm being pretty basic with it. Like, some of the other lists play Township, which I don't think is really correct because it's not like you have Pian Kiran Nalar or anything like that. You're not really... Like, I find it hard to believe that you're ever going to kill someone with damage with this deck, which is maybe a design flaw, because I feel like you should at least have that as kind of like your plan A while you're searching for the combo. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see about that. But, yeah, I didn't get too cutesy with the mana base. I'm being mostly minimalistic. Major suggested Horizon Canopy, which I think is fine. Maybe better than a Razor Verge Thicket. I don't know. But, yeah, I just wanted to be as basic as possible, and then eventually figure out if there were like utility lands that we could/should add. But I don't know. The main deck looks sweet to me. Sideboard also looks pretty sweet. I have a couple Gaddock Teagues. It is possible that you could just play a bunch of like one of bullets, but I actually wanted cards that I would naturally draw into. So like Gaddock Teague is just really good against a lot of different modern decks, really. I mean, there are things like Tron and Storm that Teague helps a lot against, and naturally drawing one is good. If you don't draw one, you can Evo for one, it's fine. Pride Mage is a card that could be main deck, but I think should just be relegated to the sideboard because I can't think of too many matchups where you actually want to disenchant main deck. Staticaster is kind of a staple in these sorts of decks. Pretty good card to Evolution 4, pretty good card to Blink also. So there is that additional upside with having Staticaster. We have Keranos, which is obviously very good with Eldritch Evolution. I'm pretty excited for that one. A couple Tireless Trackers. Evoing for this is not great. Like, you're trying to Evo for a value creature, but by doing so, you're like spending a card from hand, a turn, and another part of your board position to actually play this thing. So you're like down on value for quite a while. But I've been very impressed by Tracker out of these sorts of decks, like Birds of Paradise with 11 fetch lands, like generally leads to some very good Tireless Trackers. So I think this is a pretty reasonable sideboard card against Disruption. Thragtusk is basically just an Evo target against Burn and the like. Couple Ancient Grudges for Affinity and Tron, Lantern, whatever. Negate is kind of just the catch-all, and it automatically put this like kind of ugly Negate picture in my deck, but oh well, I'm over it. Yeah, catch-all for various combo decks, and I think that's kind of one of the upsides to playing blue in a deck like this, where you're just a bunch of creatures, and especially my deck that has like Path, Wall of Omens, Reflector Mage. Like, I have a lot of like pretty creature-oriented cards in my deck, so not a lot of things to actually stop combo. The best I can do is actually combo people on turn 3, which is certainly reasonable, but you do need some additional backup there. So I have 3 negates, 4th Path to Exile, which could be main, but I don't know. Just seemed like you probably didn't really need 4, especially with things like Reflector Mage, but I could be wrong about that. And then a Stonehorn Dignitary, which could be garbage, but one of the lists had it, maybe both of them had it, I don't know, but it looks super sweet, and again, it's just like a really good card to blink, and I just felt like there were decks like Affinity and Infect where it's like, oh man, I could try and find a bullet. Dredge is another one where it's like, oh, I could play like a Kataki, a Jailer, and you know, just all this nonsense where I think Dignitary just kind of like wraps all of that up in one card. So I'm pretty excited to actually try this and like Kiki Jiki it or something, or maybe just like Saheeli it twice. I don't know, but yeah, 3 double 1/4 is basically this deck. So should be a good time. Hope you all enjoy it, and let's go.